Sounds good.
Coming up now, we are going to be joined by Trinity Analytics and my friend from over at props.cash, Mr. Jared Block. Follow him at Jared R. Block on X. What's up, Jared?
How you doing? We're now in the time of sports where I'm getting like 300 notifications from Underdog a day, and I'm a little bit bummed by that, but we do have Sports Equinox, so I can't be upset.
It is Sports Equinox. So I said to Jared, because I don't know if you saw, we are now officially sponsored by Prize Picks. So I'm very excited about that. We need to do a Sports Equinox Prize Picks lineup, and I did mine already, but I definitely want to do our normal Monday night, but instead of it being a Monday Night Football SGP, let's do some kind of Monday Night Football Prize Picks line. A Monday Night Equinox Prize Picks lineup. We got a few different sports in there. I know NBA. Everybody is like excited to hear your NBA thoughts as well throughout the season. So we'll do NBA. We'll do some Monday Night Football. First, Matt wants to know if you agree on him with the under 3.5 field goals in tonight's Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to that last part. I'm assuming that I didn't hear the whole take, but I'm assuming that he is in line with me in thinking that Harrison Butker is just not being used right now because the Chiefs have been so efficient, and that probably continues today. And I do think that the Chiefs can hit their 30 implied total without having to go for too many field goals, if not even like one. We should still expect one. I don't think two is very likely. On the other side, we do have the spot where Matt Gay is not going to be kicking, and they have Matthew Wright, who, if I'm sure he mentioned, used to kick for Kansas City last year for a few games. So he's used to kicking in the stadium. I don't know how Washington even gets to 13 points tonight. And that definitely worries me. And he could still like have, efficiency issues. It's not like he's been kicking each week. He's being called up from the practice squad and was on a different team in week one. So yeah, there's a lot of ways that this thing can fail in terms of field goals.
A lot of the chat talking about Rashard Smith. I was on that bandwagon as well. A little concerned because I felt that his receiving yards prop, which is what I wanted action on, I felt the receiving yard prop for how he's been doing the last 4 weeks felt kind of low. So I'm wondering, is this going to burn out this week despite getting a great matchup against a defense bottom 10 against pass catching backs?
I think it kind of just comes down to how the first half goes. I think that they do want him to continue to have snap counts increased. I know that that's just kind of all over the place, and there's no real trends to say that. What we do have is that he essentially just got the role when they were up like 30 points last week. So I don't think we're going to see him much in the first half. He could still be there for the pass catching opportunities, and he's had like 3+ catches for 20+ yards in 4 straight games. The target share is there. It seems like when he's on the field, they do give him a decent target share. It's really hard to trust that, but I think what you're looking at for Rashard Smith is that I do think that he's just the team's best pass catching option, and I still think that even though he doesn't have a designation, I think Kareem Hunt is either banged up or they're just not willing to use him as much right now. And I do think we'll see a lot of Isaiah Pacheco on the ground. So as long as I think there are worlds where Pacheco and Smith can both get there in respective markets.
Which market do you like best for Rashard Smith?
I think if you can, depending on where you are and where you can play, I think you kind of have to go with rushing plus receiving yards. I'm not super convinced that he's going to get 3+ catches in a game where they're up by 3 scores. And that's really me banking on the Chiefs being up by that much by the third quarter, which is, I think, totally possible. But I guess we'll see how much Washington pushes back like the Raiders didn't last week. I would say rush plus receiving, and I think that's sitting around 25 or 26 the last time I saw that.
Okay. Rushing plus receiving. I was looking at receiving. I do kind of like adding in the rush there just because I did feel the receiving felt a little low for my liking. Like, again, I think like it made sense numbers wise that he should go over it. Why is it so low? 15.5, I think is what I saw. And I was like, he's gone over that in 4 straight weeks. That's concerning. At least go up to like 18.5.
Yeah, you're really banking on the Chiefs covering by a lot for those things to happen.
Okay, Marcus Mariota, he's getting the start for the Commanders today. Rushing yards is a market that you're looking at for him. What are you looking at?
Yeah, he's held his own. I'm not really looking at that last game so much, but in the 2 games that he has actually started, he's done really well from a rushing angle. He's cleared 20 plus rushing yards in all 3 of the games that he's played this season. The Kansas City Chiefs, though, like obviously they are going to grade out extremely well in pretty much every single category. I do think where they struggle though is against they're either willing to let QBs rush on them or they just have an issue with that situation, and so they haven't been crushed like some teams out there. But I do think that it's a trend you can buy into, and they have been beaten by some run first quarterbacks. So if you expect the pass rush to be an issue, which I do for Mariota, I think he's been shown that he's willing enough to run there. So I like the actual over under, which is 28.5. I think that's definitely parlay worthy. If you want to go and get an alt line, like 20 plus is really safe too.
Rashee Rice is making his second start of the year for the Kansas City Chiefs. He played against Vegas last week, October 19th. 7 receptions, 10 targets, 42 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Expectations for Rashee Rice game 2?
So for me, we're at Trinity Analytics. We're like really focused on the DFS side of things too, and he came in as like one of the most touted and most popular and highly owned players in those FanDuel and DraftKings contests. And it was mainly because the beat reporting coming out of Kansas City was that they were just extremely bullish on Rashee Rice coming in and just dominating and a concentrated effort for him. Now, there was also talk about him having a just right out the gate strong workload, and that's what we saw. And you got one more week under your belt, and you're coming in with confidence. And Kansas City is rolling, and the matchup on top of that is phenomenal. I think that we could see. Now, I can't guarantee 2 touchdowns, but I'm definitely leaning the over on the targets again. I'm leaning the over on the receiving yards. I think he could have had a much better day.
You're not afraid of back-to-back weeks?
I'm not afraid that, well, I guess there's a small world where Washington completely just duds out, and I do think that that's quite possible, but I'm expecting at least a little bit more pushback than what the Raiders, I think that the Chiefs had more first. I don't know if this is right. I'm just gonna say, like, I do think that the Raiders having 30 offensive snaps, that's not going to be the Commanders tonight. I think that they'll be able to actually push back a little bit, and then the Kansas City Chiefs will end up really running away with things late in the second half. So I think we're going to get a good 3.5 quarters of Rashee Rice, and I do think that there's much more big playability than last week. I think that they were giving him designed short routes to just kind of get him going. All it takes is for 1 or 2 Rashee Rice big explosion plays for him to get there.
The Commanders are without their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, and he just played for 3 straight weeks. They did spend some time with a couple of games without him. Marcus Mariota was under center. 3 straight games where we did see Jaden Daniels. Now he's out again. How much is anybody in Washington in play tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a full fade on JCM. I think if you're kind of shit out of luck, honestly. If you have him in fantasy, I would try to look for a potential Chiefs option if they're available on your bench still for tonight. Or you can look for Jeremy McNichols, who should be the primary pass catching option. Look, Chris Rodriguez hasn't been targeted since last December. They're not using him in pass game scenarios, and they're not throwing a JCM. I think if anybody is on the field for these passing script situations, it's Jeremy McNichols. It's not a great matchup by any means.
Rush attempt prop I felt was pretty high too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Washington in general, they have a good yards per carry. It's in the top 5 this season, over 5. I think it's 5.3. But like, I can't imagine JCM's going to have a lot of success here. I do imagine that that McNichols is just going to be on the field for a lot of these pass catching situations, and that could lead to a couple draw plays, or it could lead to a couple designed runs for McNichols as well. I just think he's the preferred back for this game specifically.
Going to the NBA before we do our little SGP like we always do. Austin Reeves, he just put up 45 last night for the Lakers. They were on the road last night. Now they're on the second leg of a back-to-back at home tonight. You're not afraid of a back-to-back?
Not for Austin. And on top of that, Luka's out, LeBron's out. They just ruled out Smart and Gabe Vincent as well. There's so many guys that are out here, and I know that they listed 10 guys available to play. It's going to be the Reeves show. I do respect, but for what it's worth, Portland is actually playing really well the first week of the year. Call it whatever you want.
They have
Amidst
like the 11th best defense in the NBA right now.
Yeah, I mean, they have good lockdown defenders. They can switch and play very well, and they're moving through this coaching debacle. So I do think that there's a lot of things in play there. I do think that that doesn't really matter for Reeves, though. I just think that his usage rate should be over 35% tonight. And for what it's worth, in the game without Luka yesterday, he had a 35.3% usage rate and an assist rate of 45.6%. And then furthermore, in the last 4 games that Reeves has played without Luka and LeBron, remember AD was there too, though he was missing time in those scenarios. Reeves has had 48 plus points, rebounds, and assists. So the consistency is extremely there.
Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors are taking on the Memphis Grizzlies tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Steph is so hard to figure out in Golden State ever since Jimmy Butler came over. Between Steph, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, I had my ways of betting Curry and Draymond until Jimmy came in. And Jimmy just throws me for a loop because he screws with one of those two every game. How do we play Steph?
I think what you have to do when you look at Steph's spots is you have to look at where he averages, and I do think that that is almost always, at least the last 5+ years, from above the break threes. We all know that he can shoot lights out when he's hot in those scenarios. And we have a decent matchup for the Grizzlies. Not only is this a spot where they're allowing a lot of paint points and a lot of above the break threes, which is what Curry specializes in, it's also one of the fastest paced environments on the card and one of the most pace up spots the Warriors are going to see. So you like to attack those scenarios, especially when the game total is up near 240. I just feel like, Curry's just undeniable when it comes to the above the break 3 stuff. And I'm always willing to buy into that action, even at pretty extreme markets. Like sometimes they'll even put him at like 4.5 threes. It's probably a spot where they do that again tonight, but he is leading the league in above the break 3 scoring per game.
There's a game tonight that really frustrates me because in the NBA, there are 2 teams that struggle with points allowed and rebounds allowed, and that is the Chicago Bulls and the Atlanta Hawks. Yet I don't know who the hell is playing in Atlanta. Kristaps Porzingis is day-to-day. There were a few other day-to-days that were posted on their injury report. How are we capping this without knowing who's playing in Atlanta?
Yeah, the unfortunate part of this is that I don't think we can make that call on the show right now 100% because we don't know. Risa Shea,
I just feel like it's such a great game for people like us who love props, and I don't know how we're gonna be able to figure this out before tip.
Right. So hopefully we get news in the next 45 minutes, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know. NBA reporting's all over the place. I don't know if you saw this morning, but they are making a more concerned effort on trying to get that information out earlier. I don't know. We'll see. But Risa Shea, Johnson, Kristaps questionable. Giddey is questionable on the other side. It's really tough to engage in that. And I sent this over to you because it was obviously fascinating because both of these teams are top 5 pace in the league. Both of them have top 5 implied team totals. The game total is 241.5, which is one of the highest on the card. And the more important thing, at least right now, is like they're both doing pretty well and not allowing a lot of threes, and they are just getting absolutely devastated at the rim in the restricted area. So that's where you want to target. Like combined, they are allowing almost 50 field goals made in the restricted area so far this year. It's a really small sample size, but at least for Atlanta, that was something they did last year in Chicago. Same thing. So they're trying to take away the 3 ball, which just tells me if that is the thing, like we're going to see just an explosion of points from the guys that are actually going to be able to do that. The problem for Atlanta is that those guys that do benefit from restricted area scoring are the ones that are questionable, like you said. So you have a great spot for Onyeka Okongwu, who is the only guy that's not listed on the injury report for them. The backup center there, if Kristaps misses, he's in an elite spot for points and rebounds. And then the restricted area scorers for Atlanta, not named him, are going to be Johnson, and Kristaps is definitely in play there, though I do worry about that illness, which just seemed to carry over from last spring. So
it's going to live with him
Okongwu,
for forever, Kristaps.
Yeah, I mean, it probably will. You're probably right.
Well, I have a friend who has it, and the POTS thing, and it's your life. It drains you. You get lethargic. It's very difficult to play professional sports. It's hard to live a day to day sometimes, and it sticks with you. You don't really get rid of it. You just have to deal with it.
Yeah, that just tells me that he's going to be like sitting out front or back halves of, or one half of the back to back moving forward.
Yeah, no, 100%. That would be my hunch. Well, there's two major stories, one from last year, one from this year. SGA MVP last year for OKC. This year, it looks like Wemby's on that same path. For people that do like to play these very well-known big names, where can we take advantage in the market on both of them?
Yeah, I know it's always tough to see like Wembanyama's fantasy score like 60 and be like, oh, he's gonna try to get that high again. The problem is like he always just finds a way to get that, or at least make it sweaty, right? Like he has 15 blocks in his last 2 games, which is insane. The scoring's off the charts. I know that he's going to have high markets everywhere. I'm a fantasy number guy first, so that's where my head always goes. And if you're telling me that blocks and steals count as fantasy points, I'm game whenever, especially in these like 5+ block situations for Wemby. Just something we haven't seen in a very long time. I do think that the usage rate's also extremely good, 33.8%, which is sixth in the NBA. If you don't have fantasy point environments, I do think that points, rebounds is where I would land. He should have an above average scoring night. The Raptors are not allowing a lot of threes, but they are allowing a ton of restricted area field goals, and that is where Wembanyama ranks second in the league. He's averaging 7.3 makes in the restricted area off of 9 field goal attempts. Extremely efficient as well. So that's where I'd lean if I wasn't doing the fantasy stuff. In terms of SGA, it's just a spot where like I just think that anytime OKC is going to be within a non-blowout game environment, then I'm willing to bet that SGA can do it with all of these guys out right now. You have Caruso, Isaiah Joe, Jalen Williams, they're all out. And on top of that, Chet is going to play, but he's questionable. So who knows if he's really obviously not 100%. So with that said, SGA is the second highest usage rate in the NBA, 36%. He has the most drives per game as well at 23.3. And you got this Dallas defense who on paper looks really, really good. But I do think that they're just going to be beat in the zones that SGA is very, very good at. We already know that so far this season, Dallas is allowing the most mid-range field goals, the 10th most paint field goals, and the 8th most restricted area field goals per game. So essentially anything from the free throw line in. And SGA is the league leader from the mid-range to start the year. And he's just a top 50 scorer, top 30 scorer in the paint and restricted area. So the dude's going to drive to the hoop. He's probably going to have success, even if he gets fouled 20 times.
We're running out of time, and I have some technical issues right now, so I don't think we can put together our SGP today. I apologize. I'll send you a message as to what's going on behind the scenes, but I have a few little things that I have to work out with this new partnership. So I will let you go early today. Jared Block, thank you so much for giving us your insights into tonight's slate, NBA, Monday Night Football, anything for World Series real quick.
Man, this one has been really fun to watch. I was all over the Blue Jays in game 1, but I did not see that one coming on over the weekend. I don't have many notes, but what I do know is that like, the LA Dodgers obviously don't want to have their bullpen get anything. That's been the big story here. I expect Glasnow to be I think that they're willing to let him push a little bit, though I'm worried about him getting the strikeouts in this matchup, like we've talked about as the Jays have gone along. So I would look at an under strikeout stuff for Glasnow. From there, I really don't have much to tell you.
I understand. Hey, listen, anything against the Jays is under and nothing when it comes to those strikeout props against the Blue Jays this year. Jared Block, thanks so much for coming on.